Well, I love the episode. Yeah, why not? Probably the best episode of the season, half season, whatever. uh, it was nice that Ginny and Strax and Vastra, all those people I was talking about last time, they finally managed to get some decent characterization in. I think a little. Uh, and I'll just go full on into the spoilers here. So this is assuming you've already seen it. Okay. John Hurt as a mystery doctor, as apparently one of the doctor's past incarnations, presumably, it might be a future incarnation, we don't quite know what's going on, but one of the doctor's incarnations that we never saw. Apparently, Matt Smith is actually the 12th Doctor. It's a really interesting plot twist. I mean, it might seem a little shoehorned in if it weren't for the nature of this show. Time travel, slipping things in sort of under the rug, adding twists into past elements of the show. It works in this scenario. I think it works. Um, it's quite a twist. It really changes the dynamic of everything to think that there's a whole other Doctor that we haven't seen. Now, I'm hoping that this is actually like a Zero Doctor. Like maybe this is the Doctor's real first incarnation. But somehow, I don't know, I had a bunch of theories about that, pointing to that, I thought, but realistically, this is probably going to be the Time War Doctor. Okay, let me tell you about Paul McGann. He was the 8th Doctor, and he only appeared on TV the one time for the quote-unquote TV movie, which was an attempt to bring Doctor Who back from oblivion after the original series ended. Um, it didn't take, and the show sort of languished in non-existence until it was revived by Russell T Davies. But for that one TV movie, Paul McGann was the 8th Doctor, and he's been acknowledged as such. It's canonical. But that was all the screen time he ever had. But this was way back in like 1999 or 96 actually, I think. And this was my first real experience with Doctor Who. I've been aware of the show's existence up to that point, and I'd been mildly interested, but this was the first time I really saw something of it. And ever since then, for me at least, Paul McGann has been my Doctor, my favorite Doctor. Um, and it's always been rather bittersweet to me that he hasn't ever appeared again in the show. But that was okay, because in a way, it gave something to him. It gave him something that very few other Doctors have, and I've liked a lot of the other Doctors. I'm not slamming the other Doctors. I'm really fond of Matt Smith, for example, but Paul McGann's 8th Doctor was the Invisible Doctor. The Doctor we never saw, and when the series really did return, with Christopher Eccleston as the ninth Doctor, although now I guess he's the 10th Doctor, we discovered that there had been a time war, a mysterious, epic, fantastic event that was so terrible we can't even see it. We've just caught fleeting glimpses of it. But that kind of salved the wound of never seeing my Doctor again, and I think I have to accept by this point that he's never ever going to be on the show again. For some reason, the makers of the show just don't seem to want him around. I mean, he said that he'd be glad to reprise the role, but no one seems interested. But that was kind of okay. Well, okay-ish. Because that meant that the 8th Doctor had the Time War. We'll never know for certain just what he did, or what his adventures were during this terrible, awesome odyssey which he undertook. which scarred him so deeply that he was a changed man from then on, which changed the rules, wiped out the Time Lords, arguably the most important event in the Doctor's life. That belonged to Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor, and I always thought that was kind of neat. That he fought these battles, that he did these epic things, and the reason that we haven't seen any of his adventures, his unseen adventures, is because of the Time War, because it shuffled things up and cast them into the realm of uncertainty. And so that added a kind of poetic tragedy to his character. And I thought that was really neat. That was his legacy, because every Doctor, every incarnation of him, has left something behind, has added something to the mythos, to the story, has echoed. But now I'm afraid that maybe they're taking that away from him. I mean, if John Hurt was actually the Time War Doctor, the one who pressed the big red button and initiated the Time Lord apocalypse, and it's really looking like that's probably what's going on, what does that leave Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor? What is he then? I mean, that reduces him, that shrinks him down almost to nothing. He won't have left any legacy. He'll be the Doctor who, in one episode, the TV movie, it basically was an episode for all intents and purposes, he saved the Earth from the Master. That was it. That's all. And that story itself is never referenced, almost ever, in any way, shape, or form. He's gone from being the Doctor who faced the ultimate doom, his darkest day, the Doctor who was broken and came back from it, to just being the Doctor who we didn't see very much of. And that's kind of sad. All he had was that possibility, that was his thing, the Time War. That was his story arc. The Ninth Doctor had Bad Wolf, the Fifth Doctor had he had a whole bunch of stuff. He had Castrovalva, he had Legopolis, and so forth. And the Fourth Doctor, he was the Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, right? And but now, what does the Eighth Doctor have? What does my Doctor have? He's got nothing. I mean, you could say maybe he participated in the Time War, but so what? He's just another Doctor who participated in the time. This new Doctor, John Hurt's Doctor, he's the one who actually pressed the button. He's the Doctor's darkest hour. He was the Doctor at his lowest, not Paul McGann. He was just kind of nothing, really. Kind of a shame. As I understand it, Christopher Eccleston was originally supposed to be in this role. This is just the rumors I've heard. But he didn't care for the story or something, so he bowed out. He's had a pretty frigid relationship with Doctor Who since he left. He doesn't really seem inclined to return to it for any reason. So why couldn't they have gotten Paul McGann? It would have been so awesome. I mean, it was already pretty neat when John Hurt turned around and it was, oh my God, it's a new Doctor. But you know what? For me, it would have been incredible if he turned around and it was Paul McGann. Instead, it's this new Doctor who, for some reason, we haven't ever even seen him in psychic flashbacks. When they show a slideshow of all the Doctor's past selves, we don't even see him in that. No, they just... Well, we'll see where this goes. I'm sure I'll really enjoy John Hurt's Doctor. I just hope he doesn't steal too much of that thunder from Paul McGann, because, as it is, poor Eighth Doctor. He's kind of, like I said, people tell me, well, he still probably did do some stuff in the Time War. Well, big deal. I mean, he's not the Doctor who had it worst, because he's still in the Doctor's memory banks and acknowledged as the Doctor and so forth. But this new guy, No, he's the bottom rung of the doctor ladder. He's the guy who had it worse. He faced the apocalypse. Paul McGann's doctor was just, it's like you open a room after a bad day at work, and you find yourself faced with a surprise party, and even though you know you've probably gotten fired from your job, you think, this is great. All my friends are here, and I get this big, awesome cake, this gigantic cake that I get to eat. They threw me a party just to make me feel better. Isn't that awesome? And you sit down to eat the cake at the head of the table, but then someone says, no, wait, dude, I'm sorry. This party's for this other guy, your roommate or something. And here he is. Yay, okay, get out of the chair. It's time for this other guy to have his party. It's his cake. You can have some of the cake, but he's got to have the part of the cake that has the really good stuff on it. Poor guy.